True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, we got a special guest later on in the show. We're gonna have my main man, Michael J Rosenfeld. Shout out to Michael. He'll be here soon. Michael is I guess you could call him a peak performance expert. So he works with a lot of the fighters. Just like building their mindset up, and he's really big into the whole mindset aspect and the whole mindset concept of boxing and sports, and he's dealt with a lot of elite athletes over the years. So yeah, man, shout out to him. He'll be here in a second. In fact, he just messaged me. But if you're just funneling in here, there's nobody here right now. But when you do get in here, drop a like, leave a comment. Let me see. So yeah, we're waiting for Mike right now. He'll be here soon. Oh, here he is. Here's the man himself. All right, so we got Mike J Rosenfeld. What's up, Mike?
How's it going, brother?
I can't complain, man. Nice to have you on.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I wanted to just jump right into it. What for people out there that don't know what a peak performance expert is, just describe in layman's terms, like what exactly do you do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll talk boxing, right? So in boxing, there are three factors that make a champion. One is technical skill, right? So like you know how to throw your jabs, you know how ring generalship, you know how to move and what to do. It's like the strategy of it all, but the ability to execute that strategy based on technique. You can have all the technique in the world, but if you run out of gas in the first round, that technique's not going to do anything for you in the second, right? So the second factor is physical prowess, physical conditioning, right? So imagine you have all the technique in the world and you have all the physical conditioning in the world, still doesn't make you a champion. How many guys that we know that were great, that were just so messed up here that they sabotaged their success? And like the second something went wrong, they just like spiraled out of control. And that's the third part. It's mental strength. So that's what I do. I'm a mental strength coach. I help athletes develop the mindset, the focus, and the mental strategy to be able to tap into that next level of performance and overcome challenges and perform at their very best.
Okay, fair enough. Like so basically you kind of into like building the mindset up so they can get over that hump, that proverbial hump, so to speak.
Sure. I mean, the way it works, brother, is this. Everyone has a voice in their head, right?
Yes.
It's like an inner critic, and it talks. So like if your mind is talking during a fight, like if you're in your head during a fight, guess what? You're not in the fight. You're in your head.
Yeah.
And if you're in your head, essentially what's going to happen is whatever your psychology or emotional state is, your body and breathing is going to mirror. So if you're nervous, you're going to breathe short and shallow, and you're going to get tight. So sometimes you see a fighter and he gets out there and he's tight because he's so in their head. And like, this guy's fast, he's elusive, but he can't get over being in his head, right?
Yeah.
What I do is a process called transient hypofrontality. And basically what that means is it's the slowing down of the front cerebral cortex. The front cerebral cortex is the part of the mind that judges and analyzes. It lives in the last round and it worries about the end result. But I can't control the last round because it already happened. And I can't control the outcome of the fight because if I did, I just snap my finger and say I won. All of my power happens in the now. So if this mind is overly hype and active, I'm not in the now. I'm focused there or I'm focused there. So the process of transient hypofrontality literally means it's the science of entering the zone or flow state. I teach athletes how to get into the zone and to be in flow state where there is no inner critic, and all that work that they put in on the track, running, and in the gym, sparring and training, that's what's left. There's no mind to sabotage the success. They're left with their power, and they're free to use it fast, powerfully, clean, clear, and focused. That's what I do.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just, yeah. So just being, helping the athletes be as present in the moment as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
I mean, imagine that for a second, brother. Imagine you have a big meeting ahead of you, right?
Yeah.
And you've done all your studying, you've done all your research, like you're ready to go. But by the time you get there, like you're in your head and you're nervous. How well are you going to perform?
Not very well. I'm gonna lay a dud. It's gonna be brutal.
Really? And then so imagine if that nerves and that inner critic wasn't there. What's there?
Just, I'm thinking about success and pushing forward.
That's what I do.
Okay. So like how exactly did you get involved in boxing? Because I was doing a lot of research on you, and I saw like you did stuff at the NFL Combine. You met my favorite tennis player, Novak Djokovic. That was pretty cool. I saw that.
Yeah.
So like, how did you get from all that to boxing?
Well, the question is, how did I get from boxing to all that?
Yeah.
I grew up boxing. I started fighting when I was 8 years old. I grew up in Philly, and then I moved to South Florida when I was 9. And essentially what happened was when I got down here, my family moved into a middle-class area, and I really didn't fit in with those kids. And all of my friends were at the gym. So I would go both to the Overtown PAL with Coach Burns or to Sistrunk, and I would train there. And ultimately, I ended up getting into a lot of trouble when I was 14. I was put into programs for juvenile offenders. But boxing was my thing my entire life. So I studied the game. And then when I got out of the program and I was in my 20s, I had an accident. So I had to stop boxing. But I actually started coaching the technical side of boxing while I was living in Tampa. And I created a charity for gang members in Tampa that used boxing as a tool to help them overcome challenges. So boxing, to answer your question short and sweet, brother, boxing is in my heart.
And it seems like it saved your life in a major way. It's put it in the right direction. Yeah.
Oh, so that's a good point, right? So prior to COVID, I wasn't doing much in boxing. Like Chiro and I have known each other. Like we've worked together for many years. Yeah. Like he and I have been friends, and we've worked with different fighters years ago in the past. But when COVID hit, most of my clients are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and professional athletes from other sports. Well, those companies were shut down, and those sports were shut down. So I had no business. I lost 98% of my business. And then I'm on the phone with Chiro, and he was like, yeah, we got these fights coming up. We have Jeison. And he went through all these fighters. He was like, I want you, brother. I'm like, let's get on the team together. Let's do our work. And that's what brought me back into boxing, and I'm here to stay.
That's amazing. So how are you finding boxing compared to like working in other sports?
I mean, it's a certain mindset. It's a certain heart set. It's a certain way of being, right? Like not everyone is cut to be a fighter.
Absolutely not, no.
You know? So I find that with boxing, the winners are the ones that take 100% accountability for everything. They own everything. And there are fighters who don't own everything, and they never get to that level of success because they don't realize how powerful they are. They blame others, which like makes them lose their power. But in other sports, predominantly team sports, when you have other people to blame or a coach to blame, like you're really not giving yourself as much power. Not that you can't. Like Michael Jordan owned everything, right? Novak owns everything. I mean, I've worked with him. He owns everything. But in boxing, it's another level. The cost of not owning everything is much greater than if like Novak wants to be distracted. So
yeah,
you know,
it's gonna get you killed or put in the hospital if you don't. If you have one bad millisecond, forget second, millisecond, and you're out of there.
That's right. We know that. So yeah.
One thing I like just in doing some research about you was you talk a lot about self-limitation and pushing beyond self-limitations. So like how do you, from your perspective and from your training, how do you push beyond self-limitation and doubt?
I mean, that's the $1 million question right there, right? And the answer is the limitations that you set for yourself have nothing to do with reality. They have everything to do with what you believe. but beliefs and reality are not the same. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine you and I are walking down the street, right?
Okay.
And you have an office. And as we're approaching your office, I look at you and I say, listen, bro, when you pass this parking lot, be very careful because people get mugged and robbed here all the time. So, fine. Every day you walk by that parking lot, how do you feel?
I'm gonna be on pins and needles.
Of course, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now imagine 6 months goes by, and we're walking, and I'm looking at you and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And you're like, the parking lot, man, I'm nervous. I'm like, why are you nervous? You're like, people get mugged here. And I say to you, nah, bro, I was just kidding. You believed it was true, but it had nothing to do with reality. What happens in our life is we have these experiences, and these experiences cause us to have certain beliefs, but they're just perspectives that have been formulated and made concrete to the point that we believe it. Now, this is where it gets science, okay? So the neuroscience of this all is this. There's 4.2 billion bits of information happening every given second. Out of all that information, the human brain is only able to absorb 1%. So think of this. All of this data is happening in front of us, and we're only able to take in 1%. The 1% that you take in will always be consistent with what you believe. Here's an example. I was 4 years old. I was knocking on my parents' door, had a migraine headache, and I'm knocking and I'm crying and I'm crying. Open up, help me. They didn't open. And I sat there on the other side of the door, and I had this feeling overcome me that I guess my parents don't think I'm important. Well, that day, a belief system was formed. I'm knocking on my parents' door. They're not answering. I know they hear me. They must not think I'm important.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that I'm not important. So I start to develop this belief. Maybe I'm not important. I raise my hand in class. Teacher doesn't call on me. Oh, she doesn't think I'm important. So now I'm gathering in all this information that supports this idea that maybe I'm not important. I'm sitting there talking to my friends. They're not listening. Oh, they don't think I'm important. Now it becomes a belief.
Yeah.
4.2 billion bits of information. I see 1%. Now imagine I'm sharing this with you and you're nodding your head, right? I see that through the lenses of someone who doesn't believe they're important. So when you're nodding your head, I'm thinking to myself, man, he just feels bad for me. He's just trying to get me out this interview.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we talk about overcoming beliefs and going beyond limitations, we have to realize that those limitations that we set for ourselves, I believe I can only win X amount, but I can't beat that person. Or I can only do, that has nothing to do with reality. It only has to do with what we believe based on stories that we've been telling ourselves and the way our brain works. But when we are able to rewire our brain, and really it's about rewiring our subconscious, we're able to step into our power and achieve so much more. That's how we push past limitations.
That's a hell of an answer. And that's
science, bro. It's the realness. It's the scientific. There is tons of information that you can learn about this, the neuroscience of it all, and how the human mind works. The mind is a muscle. It's called neuroplasticity.
I've heard of that.
Whatever you're thinking, you're training your mind to think that way. There's 77,000 thoughts that happen a day on an average person, roughly. Out of all of those thoughts, 95% of them are similar to the thoughts that you had the day before. So we stay stuck in these cycles of who we think we are. So we only earn the income that we believe to be possible. We only have the relationships that we believe are possible. We only get to a certain level in the game that we think is possible, unless we know how to rewire that. And that's how we overcome limiting beliefs. We learn how to rewire that.
How long, like being with athletes, have you ever been with an athlete who you would say had he had an inferior mindset and then he eventually rewired it and became like an elite athlete?
I mean, that's my That's how I've never marketed myself as an in my industry. I've never marketed myself. 100% of my business has been referral.
Okay.
So I worked with teams, professional sports teams, and I worked with athletes who the coaches or the agents have given up on and said, okay, we're just going to give it this one last try. We're going to put him with this guy and see what he can do. And then all of a sudden, like, they become all-stars or world champs. Yeah. So
yeah. How long do you think? How long, from your experience, how long does it take to rewire the brain or rewire that thinking that you're talking about?
It happens instantly if you're open to the possibility of it happening instantly. So, like, I want to consider it this way. Like, for me to get into peak, like, let's say, like, I have a championship fight coming up. In order for me to get into condition, like championship condition to fight, let's say it's 3 months out and I start my training. Well, day one, the process is happening. I'm already starting to get into shape. So maybe by week one, I can go 2 rounds in sparring.
Wow.
By week one, you begin to realize that you're not who you thought you were. And when you begin to realize that you're not who you thought you were, you're much greater and you're capable of much more, it energizes you. And you become so much more open to achieving more. So, like, the effects begin happening instantly, but the process is lifelong.
Yeah. So you're in a constant state of evolution.
That's it.
Okay. I want to get to Jeison Rosario because that's how I met you. You know, I was interviewing you. You were standing right next to me. When you first got with him and met him, what would you say his mindset was like in comparison to the other athletes you've worked with?
Jason's unique, man. Like, Jason's a cool cat. Like,
yeah.
I mean, just look at any of his fights. Look at him in the corner. Like, he is very consistent.
Even keel.
Even keel. Like Jeison. Jeison has the winner's mindset. Like, Jeison, and what makes me say that is Jeison doesn't believe in win or loss. He believes in win or learn. So his last loss is going to catapult him to freaking new levels, right? So, like, when I began working with him, when I began knowing him, like, I looked at this man and I'm like, he's destined for greatness.
Okay. Yeah, like, cause with him, you know, fighting a guy like Charlo really took him to some deep, dark places, and now we get to find out just how great Jeison is and how he responds to that.
We're going to see that. We're going to learn how great he is, and we're going to see how powerfully he responds to that. And I'm extremely confident that, let's call it Jeison Rosario 2.0, is going to come back, and he's going to, like, I don't think he's going to shock the world, but I think that, like, his fans that were behind him are going to realize that what they loved about him is still there, and he needed to go through that to get to the next level. And when he gets to the next level, he's going to stay at that next level and keep climbing.
Absolutely. I was watching one of your on your channel. I found your channel. I was watching one of your, like, keynote speaking sessions. You were talking about playing big. Yeah. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you, in your own words, to play big in the game of life? Like,
I think that if you believe, if you're the goal, I mean, you've heard this before, I'm sure, but, like, if the goals you've set for yourself don't scare you, then you're doing what you believe to be possible, which means, like, you're staying in your zone, you're staying in your comfort zone. Playing big goes beyond that. It goes beyond, like, I need to discover who I am when I push past my self-imposed limitations, right? Playing big, like, there's a story of a hermit crab. A hermit crab lives in a shell.
okay.
And as it lives in the shell, it eats and it begins to grow. But the shell doesn't grow. So the shell becomes tighter and they become confined, right? And it has to make a decision in that moment. Do I want to settle into this shell and live mediocre? Or am I willing to take a risk, shed this shell? I become vulnerable. There's things that can scoop me up, but there's a bigger shell waiting for me. That's playing big. It's saying to yourself, do not settle for mediocre. Do not settle for where you are. This is your opportunity, no matter where you are in life, to go what else is possible and push yourself into that possibility. That's playing big. Going for it.
Yeah, like Jay-Z once said in a song, I rather live enormous than live dormant,
100%.
Yeah.
I should have that quote with that image of the hermit crab, because it's exactly the point.
There you go. So I just gave you an idea for some content for your Instagram account.
You just gave it to me, brother, and I'm tagging you on that joint. Like, yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Who are some fighters that whose mindsets you like to look at when you talk about pushing past limitations and being the best version of themselves?
Oh my gosh, like there's so many. Where do we start with that? I don't want to just be so cliche and say like Muhammad Ali, right? Like, because like, do you know what an affirmation is?
Yeah.
So like for the viewers, an affirmation is like saying to yourself, I'm great, right? So like you say to yourself, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great. But there's something called a counter affirmation, which is basically what you really believe. So if you don't believe you're great, what you're really saying to yourself is, I'm great, I'm great. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. So I don't buy into affirmations. In fact, they call affirmations ice cream. They sound sweet on top of poo-poo. Because whatever underneath that affirmation, whatever your real belief is, that's what you're really affirming. So when you look at Muhammad Ali, and so you're asking me like who had that like winning mindset, like when you look at him, he didn't just say I'm the greatest, he activated that. He actually embodied that character through the way he breathed. Watch his videos. Through his posture.
Yeah.
Through his look in his eyes, through the way he talked. Now, those four things, your breath, your body language, your eye gaze, and your self-talk are all connected to your central nervous system. Your central nervous system is what activates your brain, your mind. And when you're working those muscles, you're training your mind to be that. So by the way he conducted himself, he played big and was mentally strong. But there's tons of fighters that I can go through a list of and say like, holy cow, this guy or that guy.
Yeah. No,
he's Fury.
Yeah. He's come such a long way from being in the depths of hell to now being best heavyweight in the world.
His story is phenomenal. His story is phenomenal, and it's an example of how to do that and that it's possible.
Yeah. I've even used his story in my own life, like just what I'm doing,
Tell me more.
Like I had I'm gonna say it was 2 years ago. I basically hit rock bottom. I was, as you would say, living in that shell, not being kind of mediocre. And I was working a job I really didn't like and whatnot. And then eventually I just woke up one day and I just asked myself, what am I really doing with my life? Like, where is this going? Where is it taking me? So then eventually I just decided hey, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I'm going to go all in. I'm going to try to cover the sport of boxing to the best of my abilities. Cause I really believe in my abilities. And even now, every day it's a constant struggle to get things done or to be the best version of myself, because I'm always having that voice in my head. So that's why I'm asking a lot of questions about pushing past limitations, because I think it's a struggle everyone can relate to, but it's one that I go through on an everyday basis.
I first of all, I think you're killing it. And when I watched you with Chiro and Jeison on The Office that day, I had already known who you were. I've watched your stuff in the past.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I was excited to see you there. And I'm proud of you, man, because you're doing something and you're on the cusp of breaking in and becoming that household name in boxing. You are on the cusp of that. And I just want you to hear this quick story, by the way. Okay. I want everyone to hear this story. Okay. In order to start a fire, it takes 420 degrees, right? I believe it may be 600. I may have 420 degrees Celsius. But let's say it's 420 degrees to start a fire. 420, But the story is this guy and his team are out in the freezing cold, and The only thing they have are these wooden sticks to start a fire. So he starts rubbing the sticks together and rubbing the sticks together and rubbing the sticks together. As he keeps going and going, he starts to wonder, why isn't it happening? And as soon as he starts questioning, why isn't anything happening, he begins to slow down. It takes 420 degrees, let's say, to start a fire. He started slowing down at 419.
Wow. Right there.
Right there. That's what happens to us. We're doing it. And then we start creating this story in our mind that it's not happening. But you're so close. Keep going, keep expanding, keep being resourceful. It's happening.
I appreciate that, man. Because sometimes I'll say to myself, man, nobody's really watching my channel. This is what I say in my head sometimes. But then I gotta go to my channel and remind myself there's almost 20 million views on here. People are watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your next step to consider is, how do I invest more in myself?
Yes.
Do I need to put a marketing team behind me? How do I build my brand up? I will gift you. I don't do that. But as a friend, I'll gift you a session on that.
Okay, that'd be great.
And I promise you, you've got it. Keep going.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Mike.
One more thing. Life is not up or down. Some people look at life like it's either up or it's down. It's up and it's down.
Okay.
So when you accept that life is up and down, you accept the down, you then ask yourself, when it's down, what do I need to see and learn? Because all that's happening here when life is down, I believe in God, is God's telling me that there's something that I need to pay attention to. And as soon as I admit that to myself and take that action, I catapult back up. Your downs are your message to begin to tune in and pay attention to what you need to learn in order to get to the next level. It's not there to break you. It's there to build you.
Absolutely. Just it's there to remold you into that world-class version of yourself.
Word. 100%.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to ask you, just with everything you got going on, what would you say overall is your ultimate goal with the athletes and everything you have going on?
Yeah. So, like I said, I lived on my own since an early age, got into a lot of trouble as a kid, went many years wondering why best friends were killed and I'm still alive. And I kept getting all these chances. Right. So I ended up starting a charity for kids back in 1999 in Little Haiti, working with gang members and helping them really overcome their challenges.
Yeah.
And after 10 years of doing that, I asked myself, if I can be working with anyone in the world, who would it be? And the answer was, I want to work with people who are in positions of influence. And if I can help them take their life and their game to the next level, then they are going to realize something in the process that's going to allow them to become much better role models to the world. So working with the best helps them be the best. And part of being the best is achieving a lot, but also contributing back a lot. So my goal has always been, and every client that I work with, I make them sign a contract that everything that I teach them, they have to pay it forward. That's one of my goals, creating these, helping champions create their success so that they can give back. But another part of my goal is I've now created online programs where I teach the same stuff to everyday people on how to overcome challenges and step into their power that I'm teaching to CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and world champions. So my goal is for everyone to realize their full potential and overcome their challenges. That's what I believe I'm here to do.
That's a hell of a purpose to have in life, It's and the message is universal. It can translate to the richest man, to the guy that's in the middle class, to the guy that's maybe not in the best position.
100%.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, Mike. Well, I'm probably gonna wrap it up, but I wanted to ask you: is there any message you want to get to people out there about what you got going on in boxing and abroad?
So I have a 40-day challenge that's coming up. It's starting next week, and I'll get you all the details.
Okay.
It's free to enter. So anyone who's watching this, enter this challenge. And basically what it's doing is it's rewiring your subconscious so you can step into your power. So all you need to do is click the link, and I'll provide you the link, and you sign up, and it doesn't cost you a penny. You participate in it, you go forward with it, and it's going to teach you tools and techniques that are going to help you stick to your plan. So many people join a gym and then they fall off in the first week. The reason they fall off in the first week is because their belief systems are preventing them from being in their power and being focused. It's going to help you rewire that. It's going to help you stand in your power, focus, and achieve the highest level of success. So that's what I want to share with people, and it's a gift. It doesn't cost a penny.
I'm gonna have to give it a try myself. The 40-day challenge. Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
For sure, for sure. Thank you for having me on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. All right. So there he is. That was Mike Rosenfeld. You know, peak performance coach. He's got a lot of great things going on in the world of boxing and sports in general. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you go follow him. I'll leave his Instagram information in the comments down below whenever this video processes. So yeah, like I say in every single video, I'm getting out of here. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just kidding. So until next time, take care, guys.